Tasmania's many river systems and mountainous terrain combine together to make it a mecca for whitewater canoeists from all over Australia. Its world-class venues in close proximity provide an ideal location for a paddling safari. Canoeists and the Hydroelectric Commission are closely linked. This is the Paluna Dam and power station controlling the water in the River Forth in northwest Tassie. Well, it may be the River Forth, but it's the first one we're going to tackle. So come on, get with me and let's go whitewater canoeing.
And our 6 paddlers on safari are Nick Hall, 19, the best performed canoeist on the Apple Isle, the only Tasmanian to represent Australia at the World Slalom and Wild Water Championships, majors in maths at the National University, Canberra. Tim Jolly, the youngest of the group at 18, still at school and studying for matriculation this year. Sammy Euster, 19, carpenter from Hobart, who regularly joins his friends from the north of the state for weekend adventures. Greg Stagg, 19, costing clerk in a hardware store in Devonport, a brilliant and powerful paddler. Paul Calver, civil engineer with the Department of Works in Launceston and the veteran at 23, has a love affair with white water. Raymond Baxter, 18, our only import, a rough nut who works in the Newcastle sports store, another Australian representative in Spittal, Austria this year. In order to join them, I want the best qualified teachers, the 2 Australian reps, Nick and Raymond.
Well, fellas, I think I'm ready. What are we going to do?
Well, what I suggest is that maybe Raymond goes across the other side and tries to emphasise his every action, and then I'll explain to you why he's doing each little bit.
Okay.
And we'll see what happens. Right, off you go, Raymond. To start with, you'll find that he's leaning downstream as he goes across the current, paddling only on the downstream side of his canoe. This is so that the water doesn't catch the edge of his boat, and also so that his paddle doesn't get washed underneath his boat on the upstream side. You saw just then how he went into the eddy, leant upstream for the same effect, but the current's moving in the opposite direction, and then he just did the same process coming back. The main point to remember is just to keep your boat so that the water is always going always hitting the bottom of the boat. If you went upstream, the water would build up on the boat and sort of tip you over that way. Whereas normally if you hold the boat up, the water's running under the boat, so it can't build up and tip you over. It's just running under the boat.
Fair enough. Well, it sounds good.
So we'll get over there and you can
go
over and give it a go.
Okay.
Life ain't always easy on your body, but at least the water's softer than the air. And if you mean to ride about upon it, you better see inside for what it's worth. Not look all that appealing. It's a different place to find your body in. So until you hold it steady and cut out of the eddy, you're just in no condition to begin to white water. You're just in no condition to begin.
Well, I've made a mess of it, but watch Paul, an inventive canoeist, both in the water and out of it, getting in.
as you're traveling, and you can stay crouched on your toes. Carried by the currents round the corners, crashing through the foam in your canoe. Fix your senses proper, sitting on a stopper, or hang around and do a loop or two. Ooh, white water. Ooh, white water. You carry me above the every day. White water's tearing at your face and hands, and you'll be carried through the most amazing places on a trip where nothing's ever planned. But once it's in your blood, there's no denying there's very little you would do to make sure your weekend is spent with your best friend on white water in your kayak or canoe. Ooh, white water.
The surging rapids just below the Paloona Dam have provided a fun playground for the boys, and they've treated it with little respect. But to me, the stopper waves look unbelievably intimidating. So it's with heart in mouth that I approach my impending doom, face nearly as white as my helmet.
The big wave.
Yeah, monster wave. At least he didn't fall in. That's one good thing. He's been
Close there a couple of times when he got it.
He's been very dry.
Still got all the boats.
Yeah, all my patches are starting to come off again. How'd your new boat stand up?
Really good, except for the last 2 inches, which disappeared.
How'd you do that?
Back the loops in the stopper and standing ground.
Still in the northwest, Lake Rowan is the main storage of the Mersey 4th region, a complex network of 7 dams and 7 power stations. When water is released from Rowan, it flows through some 8 kilometres to the next dam. The narrow, steep gorge provides few exit points for canoeists.
This is the Upper Mersey River, and at this stage I'm just going to sit back and watch the boys. Okay, Raymond, take it away. And remember, the neatest correct entry wins.
Rightio, Nick. Go.
Really? That guy is mad.
You may wonder why, seeing these people paddling down the river, they're zigzagging all across all over everywhere, and they're cutting out in eddies and paddling upstream and generally looking like that they're taking the longest way down the rapids. Well, this manoeuvring of your boat gives you a great deal of satisfaction because you're able to put your boat exactly where you want it, travelling in exactly the right direction at exactly the right speed. It is also great fun practicing it. It's incredible fun. Tasmanian people don't realise how lucky they are having water so accessible. Where I have to travel 200 miles to get water not as good as this. Another beautiful thing about canoeing is that it makes so many incredibly beautiful places more easily accessible. You find that you can get to places that maybe no one else has ever been before, if you're lucky. Even if people have been there before, I mean, you can think to yourself that no one else has been there before. A river gorge to me is one of the most beautiful things I can imagine, especially at a steep one.
Through scenery that's breathtaking, their run has looked easy, but I feel better looking on. At the end of the section, the river is turned at right angles by a small rock face called the Berlin Wall, and with the liberated feeling of thinking that just maybe no one has been here before, the boys enjoy themselves west of the wall. Sammy, through his clowning, has become the target, and won't be put down by anyone.
This gentle stream behind me is a world-class whitewater slalom course. With the cooperation of the hydro and the turn of a wheel, it can be converted into a raging torrent in a matter of 30 seconds. The place is Brady's Lake in the Central Lakes district of Tasmania. It was the scene for the 1974 Tasmanian and Australian Championships and has been chosen as the venue for the 1979 World Championships. With a drop of 16 metres in a matter of 400 or 500 yards and the volume of water that they put down here, it makes for some very spectacular white water. In fact, here it comes now.
This baby is called the Cruncher, known to all Australian canoeists. They love it and fear it in the same breath. It's dynamite on body and brain, and a canoeing orgasm for those that make it.
The sensation of getting down to the bottom and having successfully shot it is incredible, and you just feel on cloud nine sort of thing.
It's a challenge to be able to come out of that rapid and sort of turn around and say, shit, look up there, I just did that.
The spectacular two-man canoe at the Cruncher, Raymond in front and Greg, kneeling and using single-bladed paddles. Watch the power of Greg at the back as his paddle snaps. As Greg comes out of the boat, Raymond uses similar strength to roll up on his own. Now Raymond gets the feel of the Brady's Lake Slalom course rocks. The cruncher has taken toll of some of the best of them, but usually, after taping up wounds to body and canoe, and borrowing another paddle, they come back for more. Even the experts can make hanging on for dear life look like a comedy routine. But they're a fairly closely knit bunch, these canoeists, and Nick is right on hand to help out his mates. Or is it just that it's his canoe which is being battered against the rocks? At least Greg is able to salvage half a paddle. Another variation on how to launch your kayak. The last section of the slalom course takes its name from the steepest street in Hobart. It's like a funnel, narrow and fast. And if you come out of your boat, absolutely no escape until you're washed into the waters of Brady's Lake.
Brady's Lake is an extremely hazardous course because if you do capsize and come out of your boat, the water is shallow and the rocks are sharp and you can very easily get minor cuts and gashes. There isn't all that much water going down Brady's Lake, but it's very fast and shallow, and because of this, you're extremely likely to hit the rocks if you capsize or bruise yourself. Everybody bruises themselves if they fall in. And once at Brady's Lake, I capsized on Millbrook Street and hit my head on a rock, belted it, something terrible. And I rolled up and I came up and the whole top of my crash helmet was just crushed. That was the end of that crash helmet. It didn't hurt me because I was wearing a crash helmet.
The first time I ever paddled Brady's Lake was in the Australian Championships in '74. I just built myself a new boat. It was really light, and I thought, will it take it? This under a stream called Brady's Lake. It was like hitting a brick wall, hitting the stopper. And of course I felt the boat cracking up under me, and it's taped up in 1,000 pieces in the yard now. The only place I ever went was Brady's Lake.
I've been watching the experts come down the Brady's Lake course for the last day and a half, and I've come to realise that if I don't give it a crack myself, I'm going to lose the total respect of these guys. So here I go down the last 150 yards known as Millbrook Street. Could be anything. Oh, that's one rocky little bit of water there. Well, there you are. You see, it's not as easy as it looks.
What are you doing up there?
What did I do wrong, Greg?
Well, as soon as you came to the top eddy, you just leaned upstream. You went straight over the top of the boat.
I thought I was leaning a bit.
No, it was just a very slight angle upstream. It got you.
Not fast, not sort of
It's
far
pretty
enough.
fast up there, and you got to watch it.
I tried to do a support stroke
Yeah, I
there.
saw that.
As I came down under the bridge.
Well, I may not have actually tamed the rivers of Tasmania, but through the force of some of this water, I've now got a first-hand appreciation of why practically the whole state is powered by hydroelectricity. We all got a big charge out of the week's safari, and it's proved a couple of things to me. By contrast to my topsy-turvy efforts, the skill shown by the boys is no mean accomplishment, and Tasmania is definitely the place for a canoeing expedition. The land of the blazing paddles.